That felt rather sensual, didn't it? So does this. Hello, Mojo Festival. How are you doing today? Woo! You're doing woo. I'm doing woo as well. Let's be woo together. Hey. It's wonderful to be here today. Mojo Festival, Comedy Treatment Order, celebrating World Schizophrenia Day, just being amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause because this is something special. Now, my name's Juliet and I'll be performing some comedy for you today. And I'd like to dedicate my set to someone very special to me. I'd like to dedicate my set to someone by the name of Rosie. More on who she is later. Remember that name? Rosie. Now, a fun fact about me, I live in a haunted house. Ooh, spooky. It's true, I really do. You know how I know it's a haunted house? There's a ghost in there, jeez. And for the psychiatrists in the audience, how do I know that it's not delusions? Because obviously every person with lived mental experience has delusions. You know how I know it's not a delusion? Because there's a friggin' ghost in there, jeez. Now, don't look at me like that. I didn't know it was haunted when I moved in, although I really should have expected. After all, it's a 100-year-old beach cottage right on the water, had been abandoned for a couple of years, and the rent was semi-affordable during a rental crisis. Ooh, spooky! I went to inspect the house, and when I came up close to it, I saw there were 2 windows looking at me, wondering what would I do next. I went into the yard and the grass was knee-high, filled with dead birds and fossilised dog poo. Ugh. And there was just this general feeling of being looked at, being watched. Oh wait, that's just my crappy neighbour. Piss off, Janice. I'm trying to inspect the house. Jeez. But I wasn't stupid. I knew that old houses can sometimes be haunted. I've seen Ghostbusters 1. I know what goes on. So I was smart. I walked into each room of the house. And when I went into that room, I asked, "Is there anybody here? Are you okay with me being here?" And there wasn't a beep, there wasn't a peep, there wasn't a woo, there wasn't a who, there were no scary sprites, there was nothing to give me a fright. There was nothing. It was the quietest house I have ever been in. And it was quiet when I inspected it again. And it was quiet when I moved my stuff in. And it was quiet when I moved more stuff in. And it was quiet until my very first night there, alone. When I stood in my kitchen, next to my brand new fridge. I'm over 40. I get excited by white goods, people. Oh, Harvey Norman, you speak to my soul. As I was looking at my beautiful, glistening white orb of perfection, it happened. I heard the most frightening sound I have ever heard. A massive groan. And it was coming from inside my brand new fridge. I whipped open the door and looked inside, but there was nothing in there. Of course there was nothing in. I'd literally just moved in, geez. And then the groan came from the cupboard next to me, and then the lounge room, and then the hallway, and then my motherfucking bedroom. What are you doing? It's my private space. And then inside the fridge again. Now that sound could have been anything. It could have been an orgasm gone wrong. All right, I'm not going to kink shame. It could have been my neighbour trying to fit into a thong. It doesn't fit, Janice. Or it could have been my mum who can't sing a word trying to sing a song. Oh, Macarena. Could have been any of those things, but I've seen Ghostbusters too. And Scream and Beetlejuice, and I knew what I was faced with. I had just moved into a haunted house. Now, what do you do in that situation? On the one hand, spooky house. On the other hand, affordable house during a rental crisis. Suck it, Casper, I'm staying. And that's exactly what I did. Some days I got groaned out a few times, sometimes not much. Sometimes the TV turned on by itself. Sometimes power cords just got pulled out of their socket. Sometimes lights got turned on. But the groaning was the most consistent thing. And the weird thing was, it never really made me too nervous because I realised these were just people who'd been here before. It's like being at a train station, you're surrounded by people. I just couldn't really see them. And I'm sure they got pissed off if I sat on a chair that they were sitting on, but aside from that, it was pretty chill. But the weird thing about it was that the groaning started to complete a pattern. They started to do things if I was, for example, going to eat something that would make me sick and be on the toilet the whole night. They groaned at me to warn me. Or when my ex came and they didn't like her, groaning central, and not the fun kind. Not consensual at all. Or this is a really recent one. Around Easter, I bought some yummy hot cross buns and I grilled them in the griller and I slathered them with butter and I sat down with a good book, enjoyed the heck out of them. And then after an hour, I went back into the kitchen and there was the most colossal groan you have ever heard. I'd left the grill on and I nearly burnt down the whole friggin' house. So basically, they hardly bothered me at all unless, I was going to be annoyed or embarrassed or burn the house down. They seemed to almost be friendly ghosts, and I realised we could share this space together. Oh, the other really good thing about them is they didn't like my parents. Oh. I mean, who would? But at that stage in my life, I needed some space from my family. And, my dad, who's a massive skeptic, would say, I think this house is haunted. So that gave me a bit of space. And my mum, who can actually see and hear spirits like I can, she said, get the garlic, get them out of here. They're not vampires, Mum. From the neighbour who wasn't Janice, I spoke to them and they told me a bit more about the house. They told me that creative types had been in there, people who'd been writers and fashion designers, and crackling. Who's grilling pork? I want some. That is consensual. Bring the bacon over here, people, right now. I can hear it. But yeah, so basically in my house, I started to learn more that creative people had been here. And I'm a creative person. I love doing writing and dance and theatre and comedy. And I started to really come out of my shell in this house. I started to feel, dare I say it, happy. And I felt happy until one terrible day. You see, I've had depression and anxiety since I was 13 years old. I've been dogged by the black dog for that long. And that's a problem because I'm highly allergic to dogs. So not good. And just one day my mood just flipped, which it can sometimes when you have mental health struggles. And I spent all night on the phone to a counselling service. And I went to bed hoping it would feel better. And I woke up with tears in my eyes. And I realised if I left the house that day, I was not coming home. But what do you do? I was meant to be an adult. Aren't you meant to know how to deal with this by now? And my work were being douchebags, and I had to go, so I put on my suit and I grabbed my handbag and I reached out to the front door. I don't know why I'm saying the front door. It was a beach shack. It has literally one door. It's a shack. It's like the Hotel California. There's one entrance. So I reached out to the door and I tried to turn it and nothing happened. And I tried to turn it the other way. Nothing happened. And I pushed it and I pulled it and I thumped it and I swore at it. Nothing happened. And nothing happened until I calmed down. Several hours passed and I was no longer suicidal. A locksmith came to check out the door. Everything was fine. And I spent the rest of the day on the beach, relaxing, chilling, recharging. And I don't know if this happens just to me, but when I have a mental health episode, I tend to forget about it as soon as I recover. I think it's a survival mechanism. So I didn't actually think of this until several months later when I realised this house had performed an intervention. This house had actually saved my life. Now, how do you thank a house that has saved your life? Do you change the bath mats? Do you dust the cabinets? Do you give it a coat of paint? Nothing really seemed good enough. But then I started to think, and I remembered there's been another house that's been really special and loving in my life. My nonno, I'm part Italian, my nonno built his own house, literally from the ground up. A solid brick house. He built it, he designed it. And pride of place in that house was the most perfect garden you've ever seen. And in that garden, there was a row of roses. There were red roses and white roses. And his most favourite of all, yellow roses. Now, by stunning coincidence, my house is also that same shade of yellow. So what do you call a house where you're loved? What do you call a house that always has your back? How do you thank a house for saving your life? I decided to give my house a name. I called my house Rosie. Thank you so much.
How amazing is Juliet? Welcome to the stage, Christina!
Hi. Hi. My name is Christina. Thanks for coming. I'm so glad you can make it. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, she's a virgin. And you're right. I'm a comedy virgin. This is my first time. I was getting ready to come here today, feeling super excited, about to leave the house. Walked over to my housemate and I said to him, I'm going to do my first comedy show. And he looked up from the couch. No one will like you. You're not funny. And your voice is awful. He's German. And don't worry, I don't like him either. Does he use my butter? Yes, he does. You might wonder what a middle-aged woman is doing in a share house? 2 words. Rental crisis. Which is a fancy way of saying things are really fucked. I can't even imagine being able to buy a house. I was strolling around our neighbourhood recently. I saw these for sale signs. The tagline was, "Come and live in a blue chip neighbourhood." Blue chip. It's fucking Geelong. As for my voice, he's got a point there. It's not my real voice. I actually sound like a rich white woman from the eastern suburbs. This is my fake voice I use so nobody hits on me. I know I'm hot. Most people can't handle this much blue chip. So these comedy workshops, been a real hoot. After the first one, I was feeling really confident. The person sitting next to me, they approached me, wanted to tell me something. This is how it went, true story. "Hi, I just want to let you know, you remind me of someone." Me, getting really excited. Thinking Oprah, Brene Brown, maybe even a Spice Girl. "You remind me of the nurse on Monsters, Inc. Watching. I'm always watching. Watching. Always watching. I have no idea what she was on about. I haven't seen that movie in over 20 years. Seriously, folks, these comedy workshops have been a real hoot. To write, to laugh. There's been a few times in my life I've had to put myself on comedy treatment orders. First time was back in 1999. Things were bad. I took my first job in market research. Sounds boring? You're right. But for me, I was not a researcher calling you at dinner time. I was now the inflictor of terror. My weapons of choice, a phone book and a 15-minute survey. My motive, attack, phoning you while you're eating, cooking, trying to put your kids to bed. "Hello, my name is Christina. Would you mind doing a 15-minute survey?" Fuck off. "Hello, we're conducting a 15-minute survey. Would you mind?" Nope. "Hello, we're conducting a 15-minute... Who are you? Why are you calling me? Do not call me. Life went on. 20 years passes. Trying to get by. 2022 comes around. Time for another comedy treatment order. I'm having lots of stress. Feeling really unwell. Wake up in the night. I hear a noise. It's my new baby. I put the bassinet beside the bed so I can hear her cry. I reach over. I pull the bassinet. I pull the baby. I put it to my breast. I feel the wet tongue licking me. I realise it's my poodle. Sitting down, not able to move. Where am I? Frozen in time. I tell myself I'm having a delusion. That voice comes from inside the head. Comedy is the only way out. We've got to get back. We've got to get back to the future. We don't need roads where we're going. We don't need roads. And if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. So, I made it, and I made it here tonight. Thank you to Nellie, Heidi, who's not with us, and all my new comedy family for sharing the dream. Thank you, everybody. Nobody forgets their first.
Tonto. Well, by the way, this is Tonto, if anybody wonders. Mother! So as you guessed, I barracked for St Kilda. I think we're playing footy tomorrow. No, I'm a black fella, and I've got to tell you, I've been incarcerated, and some of it is fun. So I'll tell you about my latest one, and a little tip as well. So it's okay to be suicidal. I found this out at Christmas time. Christmas time, I was lucky enough to have a holiday over Christmas, Ward 17 at the Heidelberg Repat. Great service there, the meals, you know. But anyway, it's okay to be suicidal. Just don't tell them that you want to kill somebody. Because what happens then, the police come in. And they're scary, very scary. Because they don't come by themselves. They come with handcuffs and capsicum spray. And what's the other stuff? Oh yeah, that electrocuting thing. Anyway, don't do that. So I've got a couple of stories. Getting better. See, when you've got a mental health condition, you tend to make a lot of notes. When you make a lot of notes, it's hard to remember where you are. So, before I went to the place where you go when you lose your brain, right? Before I was there, I was homeless. And in a previous job, I'd been to a lot of rich people's places. And rich people, they tend to spend a lot of money on silly things. Well, I think are silly. I was in one house and the lady was showing me around the house, and there was one room with this beautiful bed and all these dolls on it, and they were wearing gold jewellery and they had these beautiful rings. And I said to the lady, who lives here? And she said, they do. And I said, what? She said, yeah, the dolls. This is the dolls' room. Fair enough. Then she took me to another room with another 4-poster bed and all these beautiful, beautiful paintings and things. And I said, whose is this room? She said, oh, that's the poodle's room, the dog's room. He doesn't have anything that flash. He does have 3 beds, and he always chooses to get right up as close as he can towards me. He's such a good boy. Aren't you, Tonto? You want to see him do a trick?
Yay!
He doesn't know any. No. Shake. Oh, good boy. A one, other paw.
Good boy.
Look, you've been a wonderful audience. I've had so much fun learning how to present myself in a funny way. I hope it leads to bigger and better things, but we just don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. Thank you so much, Nellie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
I also have an audible disability, so I need you to listen carefully. No, I didn't have late night last night. No, I'm not channeling Darth Vader. And no, I don't work on a phone sex line. Last Christmas, I went to visit my family in the country, and my sister-in-law, who doesn't know me very well, gave me an indoor plant for Christmas. It was called a Nancy, which is a prayer plant, but that was a bad omen to begin with, because I don't believe in prayers. However, it is quite nice that my mum tells me she still prays for me. I see that as a bit of a win-win. I said she prays for me. Anyway, I packed up the car to drive back to Melbourne, and I put the plant in the back seat. After a couple of days with family, I felt the need to debrief, so I stopped by my local pub on the way home. The publican has proved to be better than any counsellor or psychologist has, and I've seen a lot. She also supplies me with alcohol, and that's another win-win. Anyway, a long story short, I left the plant in the car for 2 days in 30+ degrees. Thankfully, no one reported me to the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty Towards Plants. Because otherwise, Tananthe could have ended up in the foster care system. And that often doesn't work out well. But she was resilient and she survived. So I took her home. I read the care instructions and it said needs plenty of indirect sunlight. First problem being I live in a dark, dingy bedsit. The real estate agent would call it a studio apartment. And my balcony does live over Gertrude Street. In a rental crisis, who's to complain? So anyway, I put the plant in the bathroom because that's the brightest room. But I was still worried, so I started leaving the lights on in the bathroom. I'm not sure that's a good thing using fossil fuels in a climate emergency to keep the plant alive. It slowly started turning, every leaf slowly started turning brown. I was worried I was watering it too much, I was watering it not enough. I wasn't really quite sure what to do. But then I realised I know my mum would probably expect it as a full Catholic funeral. Anyway, a week or so later, a friend came to visit to cheer me up. And he bought me another plant. I was a bit worried. How soon is too soon? And it turned out he was still sitting in the bath because I hadn't worked out what to do with it. Anyway, the replacement plant was a cactus. He told me this was a good starting point to plant parenting. And maybe one day I could work up to flowering plants. And maybe even one day have a veggie patch on my balcony. Anyway, before all this saga, I considered getting a therapy dog. But I wasn't sure I'd be responsible enough to take it to therapy every week. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks so much to Nellie and the other workshop participants. And God bless. She doesn't exist.
Another story, you say? How about the Fluffygate conspiracy? Nah. What about the saga of Ducky Street Fighter? No. Okay. I'll tell you a story titled She Wants a Meaty One. Now, I see where your minds are going. Come on. So let's talk about butcher shop. You know, those olden day shops that smelled of sawdust, dead carcasses and Windex. Some may not know this, but your old Uncle Mitch used to work in a butcher shop. You know, those pokey little shops with that cheeky little butch behind the counter, his face full of grog blossoms. Now, when I say butch, I don't mean in an AFLW way. Love your work, folks. But it's an Aussie thing, you know, shortening names, you know, like old mate Butch, as in butcher. Butcher shop. It's a ribald world behind the scenes, behind the counter, those poor unsuspecting apprentices, getting all that sage advice from qualified professionals like old one-eyed Bruce. Old one-eyed Bruce with his impressive silver quiff and his smooth talk with the ladies. Poor old one-eyed Bruce lost his eye to a stray butcher's hook. Used to pop his glass eye out on the counter every now and then, try and frighten the kids. But if you were really lucky, he'd pop his good eye out, just for good measure. Last I heard of old one-eyed Bruce, he was studying a Cert 4 in ophthalmology at Franklin TAFE. With those words of old one-eyed Bruce still ringing in my ears. And I said to him, you're not a butcher's arsehole. Yeah, the black hole of Calcutta, a butcher's arsehole. So when working in butcher shop, beware the obligatory super butch. Every shop's got one, you know, the butcher's been there, seen it, done it all, done it bigger and better than anyone else. The big noters. Or the shifties, always got something shifty going on. Trying to hide something, their eyes darting to and fro, sleight of hand, a quick feint. Shifties. I mean, it could honestly be something quite benign, but they make it very shifty. And then there's the kin to the paper shufflers. The butch will make a lot of noise. Will make them Knives rattle furiously in his knife pouch while not actually doing very much. Shifties. So anyway, there was this one customer, a bit of a toffee, nose in the air kind of gal, always fussing around about the little imperfections. She could be a bit theatrical, like it was an event, going to the butcher shop. But she started this thing when leaving the shop, a little bit more and more flamboyant each time, theatrical little exits. But her voice, oh my God, Darth Vader, eat your heart out. She'd even give old Barry White a run for his money. I'd be surprised if no one did a Crocodile Dundee on her, you know, like, just to be sure, you know, just to make sure there were no plums there, you know, like, But with her flamboyant little exits, she started saying these things quite seductively, very seductive tone in her voice. She'd be going like, oh boy, bye now, oh goodbye. And I'm like, okay. Was she angling for a free meat tray or something? A bit of meat and 2 veg. Maybe she was giving a hint to the boss, you know, a bit of nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I mean, she did say she liked the look of his sausage. But there was also an oddness to how she said things. I mean, think about it. You ask after a low-fat option from the butcher, right? You'd ask for something lean, a lean cut of meat with less fat. But this lady, oh no, she had to have something meaty. Not lean lamb chops, no. Not a less fatty cut of steak, no. I want the meaty ones. Loved her meaty meat. Meaty. Now the boss, he too was a shifty and always wondered why it took him so long to do the home deliveries. Home deliveries, delivering the meat. The boss, it was rumoured by those close to him that he had his own bit of meaty meat. It's huge, his best mate told me. Go and ask him for a look. Go on, he'll show it to you. Fuck off! Why would he even think a young impressionable apprentice would even want to look at the boss's penis? Gross! I mean, what was his infatuation with the boss's penis anyway? Maybe he likes a bit of meaty meat himself. But let's not forget old mate Knackerbags. Now he was a walking contradiction, seemingly so straight, but I think he had a thing for me. He would perform these fancy little flourishes with his hands whenever I spoke to him. Like he was trying to draw my attention to his crotch. Ooh, more grossness. But alas, poor Knackerbags, your efforts were in vain. A heterosexual male, I remain. I mean, I'm flattered that he fancied me, but... So there's a kind of rule in butcher shop. No fucking cherry picking. Serve them from the back of the tray. But I want the meaty ones. I want that one, she says. But the boss will insist. The fucking FIFO rule, kid. First in, first out. You know the drill. Freshies down the front of the tray. Now don't fuck around. But she wants a meaty one.
You know how sometimes you're you have to make small talk with strangers at a party or maybe some kind of being in public thing like a comedy gig. And someone inevitably says or asks, "So what do you do?" Now, I don't know how you answer that question, but it's a really fun question for me because the honest answer is, I'm professionally mad. And like, I know I pass as sane, the same way I pass as straight and someone in my 30s apparently. But I literally once got an award for being a sane fellow. I'm neither of those things, but yes, I'll take the money, thank you. So I'm professionally mad. And I was going to say like it's mad as in crazy, insane, or having mental health challenges. Not mad as in I'm really angry. But, there's a lot to be angry about in the world right now. So I don't know, maybe I'm both. I swing both ways. I'm poly-mad. But I'm a professional, and I don't know if anyone else here works in the reform environment, and I just want to take this chance to say how grateful I am that the mental health system is so great. No, it's no longer something we ever need to be angry about. I'm so glad all those big fancy reforms have left us with a shiny new mental health system that's just so great. I mean, we didn't really need any of that lived experience-led stuff anyway. It's all just so great. I mean, it was already great. We just needed a little reform to make the mental health system great again. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but it feels like there's a social rule that you're not meant to say things that could make anyone feel uncomfortable. Like, Donald Trump might be re-elected. The environment is spinning towards catastrophic collapse. There's a cost of living crisis, racism is spiking, multiple unfolding genocides. But yeah, let's make small talk and say how great everything is. Yeah, right. Anyway, saying I'm professionally mad is not really something you can just casually drop into conversation. I was actually a bit of a nerd. Oh, sorry, I was going to say when I was in high school, it wasn't something I aspired to be professionally. But here we are. I was actually a bit of a nerd and I ended up studying a PhD, but then I kind of went mad and 2 of my supervisors died. Now, contrary to what the media might portray, these 2 things were not causally connected. Although my next supervisor did literally take a step back when I told her, just in case. So anyway, back to the small talk. Folks then usually ask, genuinely curious about how I studied to get my current jobs. And by the way, I say jobs because I'm also professionally polyamorous. I don't know if that came out right, but I've heard the fancy term is I have a portfolio career. But the reality is I just get bored by working one job day in, day out. Like, who does that? And so I usually reply, I did some stuff at uni and some on-the-job training in psych wards. And some ongoing qualitative ethnographic research. Also known as I'm still trying to figure my own madness out. It's a work in progress. So I have been locked up in several psych wards, both locally and nationally, and yes, that's on my LinkedIn profile. I've absconded from them all. As some of you might know, I run training in absconding 101. I have been picked up off the street and handcuffed by police. I've spent time with my family. I've been visited by the CAT team and been taken into custody in the back of a divvy van. Now, some of these were causally linked. And I know professionally mad doesn't sound like a real job, but sometimes it's actually quite fancy. So I had this one job where I was literally announced in Parliament by name and in person. And actually it was so fancy, I had to buy myself new shoes. It was the tail end of COVID lockdowns, and like so many people in Melbourne, I'd been wearing my Ugg boots every day for years, and maybe worn out Ugg boots weren't going to pass as fancy Parliament clothes. But maybe for someone who's professionally mad, I don't know. I'm honestly not actually sure what our professional dress code should be anyway, right? Like, how do I get people to take me seriously as a professional mad person? And it's a question I seriously grapple with. Anyway, I was announced in Parliament by name in this super fancy way, literally because I'd survived being locked up in the psych ward. And I don't know how common this is, but I think it should be more common. Like an Australia Day honours list, the I survived the psych ward. You know, like Flick Grey, AO, TTO. Some of us would even get the really fancy CTO. Yeah, but seriously, I think we should be really proud we've survived. It's an epic effort, and congratulations, yeah. And it's not like I didn't have any other options for work. I mean, you know, like most people, I've worked in retail, hospitality, good old hospo. I've played recorder professionally at funerals, stilt walked, and taught doctors how to perform pap tests using my own body as a teaching tool. Yeah, okay, maybe my work history is a little unconventional, but how often can you literally say that your job has helped save people from cancer? And there were actually lots of transferable skills. No, seriously. I used my most private bits to teach medical professionals about consent, bodily autonomy, and actually helping us stay alive with our dignity intact. It's pretty cool. Yeah, but my primary job these days, bearing in mind I'm professionally poly, is as a solo parent, or as it's more accurately known, a double parent. It's also super fancy, well paid, highly respected. It has great leave provisions, especially sick leave with all those daycare germs coming home constantly, and I'm always treated with the utmost respect. I'm actually rarely vomited on or peed on these days. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think us parents should go on strike for better pay and conditions, or maybe at least a respect at work campaign. And so, look, I had my baby solo during the pandemic, and I've had a few people say, oh, that must have been so lovely, all that time to enjoy your newborn, just the two of you. Yeah, I'm not sure what pandemic you lived through, but I do appreciate that human species probably wouldn't survive if we remembered in intimate detail just how rough those early years of parenting are. It was crazy. But ironically, I was well prepared for the crazy town that is new parenting. Like sleepless nights, yeah? A screaming voice that I can't seem to quieten no matter what I try. Mood swings from, oh my goodness, I love this creature so much more than anything in the whole universe, to, oh my God, please stop crying. I would literally cut off my right arm if that would buy me a full night's sleep. To pretending to function in the world as if my brain is actually working just fine. Turns out though, that super fancy job I was talking about earlier, not the parenting one, the other one, well, I actually ended up having to survive that job. Like so many of the wonderful opportunities to use our lived experience in the service of mental health transformation. It's so great. It was the worst job I've ever had, and my mental health took quite the tumble, which I guess counts as ongoing professional development. That's what I used to call it anyway when I was cycling in and out of the psych ward. Yeah, another thing to add to my professional resume. So lately, yeah, if I'm honest, insomnia and a couple of its friends have been coming back for another round of quite intense professional development. Yeah, hence needing my phone to remember this comedy. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I could do with a bit less professional development, just saying. Thank you.
This is a story that some people have got an inkling about. It's all about the pursuit and locating of the enigmatic cheese man. And because this is a sort of episodic kind of piece, there's different scenes, and I brought this along as a visual guide. So we'll move to the first scene, which for me is the description of the kind of people we're going to run into. Now, you might be wondering, who are all these people and why are they in this story in the first place? Well, anyone who's ever been in a psych ward and can't go home knows that there are people around you that you can't stand, all the time. So the first I'm going to meet is why I'm dressed like this. This is a red eye, and it's like for PI. So the first character I'm going to introduce is the private investigator called Lawn Clipper. And that's right, because he's sharp and he's cool. He's also one of us. He has OCD, which has helped him solve a lot of crimes and a lot of cases. But for him, OCD stands for obsessional and committed to going over the clues again and again and again and again. And the disorder bit is because he's sometimes disordered, but at least his mind is in some sort of order. And then we're going to go into the psych ward. We're going to meet a guy called Jim, Jim Montego. He's got a long history with me, but you might not know him. He's a sarcastic Jamaican nurse. That makes sense in a minute. And then we'll meet the first of our unfortunate, I don't know what you can call them. You can't call them customers because there's nothing to buy on the site. You can't call them inmates because they do actually get out eventually. I prefer to call them MALs, M-A-L-S, short for malcontents. I think that covers most of them. So the first Mal we'll meet is a guy called Lenny. No surname, no nothing. He's the conspiracy theorist. Everybody must know. This guy has theories about everything. I mean, every person who goes into the psych ward has them for the first couple of days. They go, why am I here? The cat team's biased. They shouldn't let them, the police shouldn't let them. But to me, these guys, they've been standing in the middle of the road, in their pyjamas, in the middle of the night, directing traffic. And they wonder why they're brought in. So there was Lenny and another guy. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to know the game Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. It's all based around a lot of chance and a lot of putting your faith in things you have no control over. And next guy I'm going to meet is called Lionel 20 Sides. He's got the idea that he can just play D&D and get out eventually. And he's got a nemesis who just hates that approach. The guy's called Frost Hardacre. Now this dude, he's got ADHD and ADHD. No, that's not my OCD kicking in there. I did say it twice. He's got the normal, really difficult to contend with ADHD, which everybody hates, and rightly so. But this other guy, he's got another ADHD, which is called, or stands for, always demanding hard drink. No luck there. You've only got liquid chlorpromazine, Priodel, and shitty lactulose if you're lucky. So he's out of luck there. And another person we met is actually on the other side of the equation. She's the head nurse, and she goes by the name of Nurse Starchy Pants. She thinks she's great. She thinks because she works in mental health and on mental health that she can dispense with having any imagination. And if she did, she wouldn't even know it was there if it was inside the lanyard around her neck. And did you mention the Cheese Man? The Cheese Man will meet. Cheese Man is an interesting dude. He knows a lot about cheese naturally. And also knows that cheese is made from milk and culture. So he knows a lot about modern art. And his favourite artists are Marcel Duchamp and Andy Warhol. And I'll tell that comes up later. And then the final person we meet is a lady called Bree. Remember the name. she asked the woman Cooper to find out where the cheese man is. Cast list. So yeah, so that was in the cheese room when he was told that to go after the cheese man, and when he was waiting to go into the psych ward to find out what was happening, he was sitting there thinking, so there I was, just waving around and waving in these funny doors that are like airlock doors on a sci-fi movie, and finally the doors did open with a hiss. And I stepped inside, and it was the weirdest feeling. It was like being in a Myers Christmas window. I mean, things are happening, but it's the same things happening every time, over and over and over. I saw this big Jamaican guy. I said, "Hey man, where's the cheese man?" And he says, "Oh, right there on the table, man, in that little basket." And I said, "Not the cheese man, the cheese man." And he said, "Oh, over there, man." And so I saw all these guys sitting around the table, the guys I mentioned before, the three guys who can't stand each other, got nowhere else to go. First guy was Lenny, and Lenny just popped up when I asked him about the cheese man. And he started saying, "Hey, you know what, man?"
Alright, we got it.
"Hey man, you know what's happening? They're burying plots all over the city, man. Some are in cemeteries, some are in NBN conduits, and some, most suspiciously, man, are underneath those plots that say, 'Do not dig.'" So, I was there, and I stole a whole lot of the "Do not dig" signs, and I went to different JB Hi-Fis and put them all in the Phil Collins section. Because to me, nobody should be digging Phil Collins. And then Lionel kind of piped up, and he was playing the D&D Dungeons and Dragons game. And I said, what's your story, man?" And he goes, "You know, boy, you couldn't believe what happened. When I first came in here, I said to the doctors, 'Well, can I leave now?' And they said, 'No dice.' And I thought, oh, I'll get my mom to bring in my D&D stuff, and I'll roll the right dice and get out of here." And then he looked over with a frightened look to the other side of the room, and goes, "Oh no, here comes trouble. Count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, dickhead, wait till man, they cool playing D&D, man. We'll make it out of here. Just off your face and out of your head, man. That's the only way out of here, man. You won't get to play D&D, dickhead." And then, well, making it more interesting, this really smoking broad came to walking down the street, walking down the corridor like this. And I thought, "Hey, dollface, you know what? You're really pumping the color into my blue vein." I did say he was a PI, but he wasn't ever PC. And then she said, "Well, I don't know where you get your ideas from, you stupid man. But if it was up to me, I'd never have let you in here, and if I made a mistake of letting you in here, I would never let you out again." And I thought, oh, whoa, that's the biggest move from peaches to grapefruits I've ever seen. So I heard all this clanging and banging in the kitchen, and I thought, what the hell's that? And I called out, "Hey, you're the cheese man?" And this voice said, "Yeah, I'm the cheese man, who wants to know?" I said, "Me, wise ass." I I got a few questions for you, man. Oh, okay. Well, for the first thing is, I'm wondering what the cheese room is all about. It says, well, you know I like cheese. Yeah, everybody knows that. But I really like cheese. And I like art too. So for a while I was just getting out at night, spraying slogans around. That cheese is great, cheese is groovy, cheese is cool, cheese is holy.
Yeah!
You know, Swiss cheese. Oh, come on, man. Okay, so what about the cheese room? What happened there, man? Well, you said, you know I'm into art. And I'm also into Marcel Duchamp. Oh, not that shyster, man, come on. Anybody who just gets a urinal, turns it on its side, or gets a bicycle seat, mounts it on a stool, and calls that art, is not an artist in my opinion. But, man, you're missing the point. Marcel Duchamp liberated 20th century art from the tyranny of subjective representation. So, I knew I was up against it with that. I get more understanding when he said that it's the Andy Warhol maxim that art's whatever I say it is. And I thought, right, fine, I'll do that one. And then my next question was, well, how'd you get in here, man? And he said, well, I was eating some rare cheese in my lounge room, and two goons busted in and tried to kidnap me. So I jumped through the open window, ran as fast as I could down to my Coles, jumped over the glass cabinet in the deli section, crawled in amongst all the cheeses, and said, I'm not coming out till the cat's income. So I suppose in your case, CAT stands for Cheese Appreciation Team. It's not, no, that's not funny, man. It's serious stuff. Alright, that explains how you got in here, but why are they after you? Well, I'm not sure. But that's right. Sorry, my mistake. And I've got one more question for you in that case. What can you tell me about brie? Brie's a nice cheese. Soft, buttery, creamy with a thin rind, versatile cheese. No, not the cheese brie. The broad brie. Oh no, you've been talking to her? Well, I'm afraid I have. But she wants all my cheese secrets. Well, I guess you're just lucky, dude, that she doesn't want you to dip cheese. Again, he's a PI, not PC. But she wants that most of all. And he said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, I've got a quick and easy solution for you now. Just, behave really, really badly and get yourself a course at ECT. That'll clear your mind really quick. That's a shocking solution, man. Well, who's making jokes now? Well, I'd say you're in a bit of a pickle now, and that'll go well with your cheese and whiskey. What am I going to do? I don't know, man. It's up to you. And finally, I got to leave that place, went through the airlock doors again, stepped out into the new shadows of the new night, and thought, I'm lucky I can come out of that place and don't have to spend any more time than I have to in there. But I did overhear one guy, he said something that I've carried with me since then. He said, whenever I get out of hospital, I really miss my doctors because they're really hard to hit. And another thing, the thing I did really remember is that if you're ever in that situation, that you don't do nothing about nothing, but you can always do something about something. So that's where I left the situation. Case closed.
So you've heard the word schizophrenia. So Schizy is like a shortening of that, SCHIZY. It's a mental health organisation, but it's unusual in that it's not art therapy. Instead, we have people is essentially an organisation for people with lived experience to come together and try all new wonderful things. Comedy, theatre, cabaret. We have a harpist in the audience. We come together to do all these cool things that we never thought we could do. And in this organisation, our lived mental health experience, it's not a barrier to success, it's a gateway to having more success.
Yes.
So please look up Schizy Inc. on socials. Support, if you want to do a donation, wonderful. Support them, find out about them, come to workshops, just have a wonderful time with them. And again, most importantly of all, of course, also want to say a big thank you to Nellie Thomas, who's been our mentor for the last couple of years. Now, I've just found out something interesting about Nellie. Turns out she's been with Schizy for 10 years now. That was shocking to me because so generous was Nellie that I thought that we were I basically thought that we were her first.
Not quite.
But she was just that generous and wonderful, and she has a knack of bringing jokes out to the fore and making people express their inner voice and giving us all the confidence to do what we've just done. So thank you, Schizy, and thank you, Nellie, and thank you, everyone. It's been mind-blowing. And thank you, audience. You've been magnificent.